Oh, happy day! It's Oberon Solo's Slime Rancher, once again rolling around in this roly-poly, adorable little world filled with pink blobs and blue blobs, and it's a kitty cat! What are you doing outside of your cage, kitty cat? Oh, all of these kitty cats are outside the... Damn it! Oh no! No! Don't go flying! So while I'm doing this, I've been doing a deep dive in BESM, which is it's a wonderful little system, one of my favorites. And today, I will be talking about skills. So, I touched on it briefly in the first episode, or in the second episode, I guess. Skills in BESM are interesting. Skills in BESM have issues, I'll say. They have that rolling under a number thing, where if you're rolling 2d6, any number above 10, you can roll under. And that number is a sum of your stats and your skills. Stats have a maximum level of 12, skills have a maximum level of 6. So you don't really have a lot of delineation between between levels of skill. Going up one level of skill is a giant difference in your ability to actually succeed using that system. And it's problematic. So I did what Dungeons & Dragons did with THAC0 between 2 and 3, and that's I flipped it on its head, added up the modifiers, added the dice roll to that, and then started giving everything a challenge rating. Because please, just don't cap the ability. Whoa, there's a lot of dudes just flying. Don't cap your ability for growth, and don't cap your ability for challenge, especially at a number so low as 10. It just doesn't work. It is so narrow, and really, in BESM, that didn't mean 10. That meant your skill had to be somewhere between the sum of your skill and ability had to be somewhere between 7 and 10. So 7, 8, 9, or 10. Anything other than that is just unlikely to succeed because you're rolling 2d6, or almost guaranteed to succeed because you're rolling 2d6. Damn it! I'm shooting out all my chickens. That's not what I want to do. Alright, there we go. So yeah, flip it on its head, add all the numbers together, add going forward, and then set challenge ratings. And yeah, a basic challenge rating is gonna be like... Something easy should be a 5 or higher on 2d6. Because that means if you have any ability to handle it with your stats, or any ability to handle it with your skill, you're probably gonna succeed. Yeah, average difficulty at 10 instead of 7 ain't bad. It also means you can kind of uncap skills in general, and also lets you add more from abilities that add to specific types of rolls without worrying about utterly breaking the system so somebody either cannot fail or always fails, because that's your big problem. Just, you can't have have it be guaranteed. You just can't. Or if you do, then go, it works, move on to the next, or it fails, here, catastrophic, move on to the next. Especially when you start getting into having to modify rolls for the circumstances in-game, which I started doing more heavily once I had more room to play with. In a regular game, if you have a variance of 7 to 10 being your sweet spot, that's literally 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 4 numbers that matter. Everything else is either too shitty or too good, and not interesting. You can't even give +1 modifiers for relevant things, or -1 modifiers for relevant things too often. Or the game just breaks. Suddenly it either doesn't feel good to play, or it isn't, or there's just no challenge. So, if you really want to put people in situations where there are a lot of different elements going on that modify chances of success for any given role, and this is not just combat, although in BESM, combat skills, combat is still impacted by skills. They are the most expensive skills because BESM assumes that the thing you're going to be doing the most is the combat. Yeah, this way. This way seems good. Oh, they're angry. That's neat. That's a lot of hit points down. That's okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? Boring conversation anyway. Luke, we're gonna have company. But yeah, if you want to put your characters in a situation that is robust, complex, and has a lot of modifiers going on, that just doesn't work in BESM. It's really for that super simple shot of, like, ooh, they exploded. Oh, look at a puddle. Oh. Oh. Ah. He's so happy. This is the place I want to be. This is the place that I want to live in. But to really have it, you need to have that variance. You need to have that unending top level, because it also lets you do things like put characters' efforts together easier. I mean, imagine if you could give someone a +1 by assisting them in BESM, when your ideal range of numbers is 7 to 10. A +1 is a quarter of that ideal range. Yeah, it might get something within that ideal range that was just outside of it, but it's more likely to just push something from a possibility to a definite. And, I mean, the other problem is you're using 2d6, which is kind of old and limited in its abilities. But, you know what? Having a low variance bell curve is not a bad idea for action success. Knowing kind of where you go and how to get there. Sorry. Knowing where the limits in your system are and how often they'll pop up isn't bad. I would say you probably want more of a bell curve than TD6 gives you, and you probably want a bit more acceptable variance than 4 points. But it's not bad, especially if you flip it on its head, and then you just give people challenge ratings, and then they have to start to work to bring them down in-game to that 4-point range. All of a sudden you have a 4-point window you're looking to operate within, but it's on the characters, it's on the players and characters to get the action within that 4-point window, rather than that 4-point window basically being almost guaranteed. So, oh, I want to do something ridiculously tricky. Okay, that's a 20 or higher. Oh, right. Maybe I should make it a little easier on myself, or prepare, or get some extra assistance from my friends to make it work so that I stand a good chance of actually doing it. And yeah, you can argue that you can do the same thing with subtracting from characters' rolls, but then you have things that modify the threshold, you have things that modify the rolls, and you have them going in both directions. And that can get to be a giant mess really quickly if you're not very effective at tracking... die, you slime. If you're not very effective at tracking what's going on in your game. If you're just winging it, like I often am, it's kind of a pain to track that robust of a, alright. That robust of a system that has elements operating on both sides of the equation. It doesn't really need them. Like, if you've already got something that makes it easier or harder to do the roll, applying it to having a version of it that applies to either side of the equation is just cumbersome. You really only need to stick to having one set of modifiers, and just modify up or down as necessary. So either modify the toughness or modify the roll. Don't do both. It's not recommended. Or, if you're making things... Oh! What are these? Oh, they're honey slimes! Oh, but I need all these kitty cats and philosopher's stones and the pens. Well. Oh, he's a big honey. Yeah, if you can flip it on its head, add up instead of subtracting down, you're golden. That's everything you need. And the other thing I would recommend is adjusting how you describe. Like, they had... Oh, he angry. Who are you, and why are you so angry with me? Where did you go? Oh, he's invisible. That's rude. Well, I fed him a chicken anyway. Thank you, friend. But then, yeah, if you get to that happy medium where people know that they can play around with their success and failure by altering their actions, you're in a good spot. Anyway, I think that about covers this. So, next time, over on Solo's Slime Rancher, we'll do a little bit more of my favorite system then.
The wind howled at the watch